Andrew Iguodala was just on a podcast. I just tell you real quick what he said. He dropped a hot take saying load management didn't start because players are soft. It actually came from the old Spurs with Tim Duncan. So he said those guys kept going deep in the playoffs every year. So they were basically playing 5 seasons in like only 4 years' time. So the same thing happened with the Warriors during their dynasty. But then a bunch of teams that never even made the playoffs, they just started copying that model. And now everybody acts like players just don't want to play. That's why the league put in that 65 game rule. So, what do you think about this, Matthew? Is Andre right that load management only makes sense for the real contenders?
Yeah, I mean it's a case by case basis. It makes sense for the contenders, but if you have like an injury like Kawhi's, like a degenerative issue that really can only be it can't be healed, it can only be managed. It makes sense like for Kawhi in some cases. It makes sense for perpetual contenders. It's a case by case basis, but it's interesting he brought up the Spurs because you think about it this way: made the finals in '99, so that's going to June. Made the playoffs in 2000, so that's going to May. Made the playoffs in 2001, that's going to May. Playoffs in 2002, that's going to May. Made the finals in 2003, that's going to June. Made the playoffs in 2004, that's going to May. Then Duncan, Ginobili, and Parker all played for their teams in the Olympics in 2004. Then they made the finals in 2005. So you think of just like the sheer amount of basketball that was played between those guys from like 2002 to 2007, where they all three of their stars both played in the Olympics and played in 3 NBA finals and made the playoffs every single year. At some point, you just have to be exhausted. And, Popovich was such a good coach and the teams were so well oiled that sometimes they would play their bench players and sit their starters and win. And it was a big controversy because the Spurs played their bench players against the Miami Heat, the Chris Bosh, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade Miami Heat, and they got fined by the league. But they were winning that game the whole time, and they only lost it by a couple points with Nando De Colo as their starting point guard. So when you have that kind of culture,
right,
you can do things like load manage because your team is still competitive. But yeah, when you're the Brooklyn Nets or the Sacramento Kings and you're already losing with your starters and you're load managing and you're doing that, then you're just kind of putting out an inferior product for your city.
Yeah, and let me get into exactly what he had said. So it's actually on the screen that I have right now. I just gave you the summary version, but if you look in the middle of the paragraph, he was talking about how Duncan's year 13, 14th year, 15, 16, his body can't take the same beating being so long in the league. So load management made sense. Then we came into the fold and we go to the finals 5 years in a row, 6 years in a row, and we're playing like 6, 7 seasons in 5 years. Load management, he said, makes sense. The problem is that these other teams look at the analytics like, man, our guys need rest. Yeah, but you never made it to the playoffs.
Yeah.
So you get bounced in the first round. You actually don't need load management when you get bounced in the first round. So I get what he's saying, and I agree with it. I mean, I don't like load management. Before Tim Duncan, there was no such thing as load management. Either you played or you didn't. Either you hurt or you weren't. And if you were hurt, most guys played through being hurt anyway.
But, there are advancements in like technology and medical knowledge, like, for instance, in football, where we know what's happening to these running backs' brains when they're in these collisions and,
CTE.
And so there's things you try to do as you advance as a society that you apply to your sports and to your games. But I get your point. And I think it's a case-by-case basis. So teams like the Spurs and the Warriors that were making the finals every year, load management makes a little bit of sense. Players like Kawhi Leonard that have degenerative injuries. I hope I'm using that word right. I think I am. I'm not a doctor. I'm just a guy talking about basketball. I think it's a case-by-case basis, but I do like the 65-game rule, although it might be a little strict. I know they gave 2 exceptions this year for I think for Luka and for Cade Cunningham, or one of them got their exception. One of them was rejected. I think 62 would be fair. That means, you can miss 20 games and you play 62. 65 does seem harsh because you could have like a high ankle sprain like De'Aaron Fox had, and in the regular season that probably puts him out for like close to a month. And that means, okay, you have to be perfect. You have to play every single game the rest of the year. So no matter whatever happens, 62, I think. Whereas if you play 61, you don't get it. But if you play 62, you're still in for the awards. So I think that would be my. You don't want to go too low because then it's like, what's the point? But I think the lower 60s would be my Goldilocks zone.
Right. So yeah, and dealing with Popovich, right? I like how he pioneered the load management, which is basically he called it the smart player reset. What else he did? He was he was early and aggressive in scouting and integrating international talent. He was big on that, drawing on his background, including Soviet studies and Air Force experience. So he accelerated the globalization of like the NBA, right? He helped elevate the beautiful game, and that was like ball movement, spacing, principle-based offense, popularizing the corner three offensively and defensively with the modern 3-and-D wing archetype. And one thing that everybody knows that he was known for was what, Matthew? The hack a Shack.
The hack a
Shack. Everyone's like, what is this hack a Shack? Popovich came up with the hack a Shack, and my God, it worked.
Did he come up with it? Is that?
No, I think it was Popovich that started the hack a Shack, if I remember correctly.
I know he used it a lot. I know Shaq didn't like it, and to the point where we famously fouled him on the first play of the game against Phoenix in 2007 or 2008. So I know he employed the Shaq a hack.
Let me look it up. Let me look up who created that. But I could have swore it was him.
No,
if
man.
If he didn't, he used it a lot.
He used it a lot. He was a creative coach, talented coach.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it was Don Nelson.
Yeah.
Don Nelson from the Dallas Mavericks in the late 90s. Yep. Oh, yeah. Rest in peace to Don Nelson, right? He created, popularized the Madden and hack a Shack strategy. But he started it, but by God, Pop used it to his advantage.
And Popovich and Nelson were friends, man, and they were both smart coaches, two of the best coaches in league history. So it makes sense that if they were using a strategy like that the rest of the league would catch on.
And Nelson's innovation was using intentional fouls throughout the game, not just late to stop the clock, right? But against weak free throw shooters. The goal was to lower the opponent's points per possession compared to allowing a high percentage shot near the basket.
And now they all do that. I mean, the Spurs, we just saw the Spurs do that in the finals against the Knicks, where they were trying to get
Levy, all of them.
They were trying to get Mitchell Robinson out of the game. They would foul Mitchell Robinson. So very